G. Wells' novel, The War of the Worlds. Orson Welles.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet, across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beasts in the jungle, intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. In the 39th year of the 20th century came the Great Disillusionment. It was near the end of October. Business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 30th, the Crosley service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios.
And for the next 24 hours, not much change in temperature. Slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is reported over Nova Scotia, causing a low-pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecast of rain accompanied by winds of light gale force. Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We now take you to the Meridian Room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Ramon Braquello and the orchestra.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the Meridian Room in the Park Plaza in New York City, we bring you the music of Ramon Raquello and his orchestra. With a touch of the Spanish, Ramon Raquello leads off with Fernando's Hideaway.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Ramon Raquello playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
Now a tune that never loses favor, the ever-popular Stardust, Ramon Raquello and his orchestra.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with noted astronomer Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on the event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Ramon Raquello and his orchestra. We now are ready to take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black, except for an oblong split in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a kind of a kind of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of this huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me in a small platform, peering through a giant lens. I ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen, because during any delay that may arise during our interview, besides his ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communications. During this period, he's in constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our questions?
At any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Well, nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. A red disk swimming in a blue sea, transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distinct now because Mars happens to be the point nearest the Earth. In opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Well, not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips, although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced, as a scientist, that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars?
Well, I'd say the chances are 1,000 to 1.
And yet, how do you account for those gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Well, Mr. Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from Earth?
Well, about approximately 40 million miles.
That seems like a safe enough distance. Thank you. Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we're speaking to you from the observatory in Princeton, New Jersey, where we're interviewing the world-famous astronomer, Professor Pearson. One moment, please. Professor Pearson has passed me a message which he's just received. Professor, may I read the message to the listening audience?
Certainly, Mr. Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall read you a wire addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Gray of the National History Museum, New York. 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seismograph registered shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within a radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronomical Division. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbance observed on the planet Mars?
Hardly, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes, we've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We're returning you now to our New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News, Toronto, Canada. Professor Morris of McGill University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This confirms earlier reports received from the American observatories. Now, nearer home comes a special announcement from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge, flaming object believed to be a meteorite fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover Mills, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene and will have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word description as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Marionette in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millette and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music. We take you now to Grover Mills, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again at the Wilmoth Farm, Grover Mills, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and myself have made the 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes. Well, I hardly know where to begin to paint a word picture of the strange scene before my eyes, like something out of a modern Arabian Nights. Well, I just got here. Hadn't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Yes, I guess that... Wait, the thing is directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. It must have struck with a terrific force. The ground's covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. What I can see of the object itself doesn't look much like a meteor, at least not the meteors I've ever seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of... Well, what would you say, Professor Pearson?
What's that?
Well, what would you say is the diameter of this thing?
Oh, about 30 yards.
About 30 yards. The metal on the sheath as well. I've never seen anything like it. The color's sort of yellowish white. Curious spectators now are pressing close to the object in spite of the efforts of the police to keep them back. They're getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing to one side, please?
One side there. One side.
While the policemen are pushing the crowd back, here's Mr. and Mrs. Wilmoth, owner of the farm here. They have some interesting facts to add. Mr. and Mrs. Wilmoth, would you please tell the radio audience as much as you remember of this rather unusual visitor that dropped in your backyard? Step closer, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. and Mrs. Wilmoth.
Well, I was listening to the radio.
We both was.
Now, Ethel, did he ask you?
Well, we were both listening.
Are you telling this or am I?
Well...
Ethel?
Mr. Wilmoth, if you could continue and speak louder, please.
Pardon me?
Louder, please, and closer.
Yes, sir. Well, like I said, I was listening to the radio.
We both was.
And I was kind of drowsing. That professor fellow was talking about Myers, so I was half dozing and half,
Yes. Mrs. Wilmoth, then what happened?
As I was saying, I was listening to the radio kind of halfways.
Yes, Mr. Wilmoth, and then you saw something?
Not first off, I heard something.
And what did you hear?
A hissing sound like this. Kind of like a 4th of July rocket.
Yep, like that.
Yes, and then what?
Turned my head out the window and would have sworn I was to sleep and dreaming.
Then what?
I see a kind of greenish streak and then zingo! Something smashed the ground, knocked me clear out of my chair.
Me too. We both fell right on our keisters.
Well, were you frightened, Mrs. Wilmoth?
Well, I ain't quite sure. I reckon I was kind of riled.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilmoth. Thank you both.
What, you want me to tell you some more?
No, that's quite all right. That's plenty.
City people, I was in a hurry.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Mr. and Mrs. Wilmoth, owners of the farm where this thing has fallen. I wish I could convey the atmosphere, the background of this fantastic scene. Hundreds of cars are parked in a field, and back of us, police are trying to rope off the roadway leading to the farm, but it's no use. Men, women, and children, too, breaking right through. Cars' headlights thrown in an enormous spot on the pit where the object's half buried. Some of the more daring souls are now venturing near the edge. Their silhouettes stand out against the metal sheen. 2 children are trying to touch the thing.
Hey, you kids, get away from there.
Come on, we just want to touch it. They're Martians from another planet.
Well, you can't touch it, so move away.
Come on, Billy.
From another planet. Martians are from Mars.
You're so smart. I'm the one that saw it crash.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. And I know, smarty pants, that Martians come from Mars.
Ha! What if they're from Uranus?
Oh, I'm telling Mom.
You better not. Hey, you hear that?
Ladies and gentlemen, there's something I haven't mentioned in all of this excitement, but now it's becoming more distinct. Perhaps you caught it already on your radio. Listen. It's a curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. I'll move the microphone nearer. Now we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Oh, Professor Pearson.
Yes, Mr. Phillips.
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside this thing?
Well, it's possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I see. Do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
No, I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, not found on this Earth. Friction within the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite, but this thing is smooth, and as you can see, it's of cylindrical shape.
Just a minute. Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. This end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw. The thing must be hollow.
Look, the darn thing's unscrewing.
She's moving.
Keep back there. Keep back, I tell you.
Maybe there's men in there trying to escape.
keep back there!
Mommy, I can't see. Lift me up.
Get on my shoulders.
The top's loose.
She's off! Look out there! Stand back!
Mommy, I'm scared.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. Wait a minute. Someone's crawling out of the hollow top. Somebody or something I can see peering out of that black hole. Two luminous discs. Are they eyes? It might be a face. It might be. Good heavens! Something's wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one and another. They look like tentacles to me. There. I can see the thing's body. It's large as a bear, and it glistens like wet leather. But that face, ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent. The mouth is V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. The monster, or whatever it is, can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's raising up. The crowd's flowing back now. They've seen plenty. This is the most extraordinary experience. I can't find words. I'll pull this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description until I can take a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back in a minute.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening on the Wilmuth Farm, Grover Mills, New Jersey. We go back. Are we ready? We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover Mills.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. and Mrs. Wilmuth's garden. From here I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk, as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit, about 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with somebody. We can't quite see who it is. Oh, yes, I believe it is Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted. The professor moves around one side studying the object while the captain and the two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. A flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait, something's happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Good Lord, they're turning into flame. No! Fields caught on fire. The woods, the barns, the gas tanks of automobiles, it's spreading everywhere. It's coming this way, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover Mills. Evidently, there is some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to the point at our earliest opportunity. In the meantime, I do have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Endelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We now continue with our piano interlude.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been handed a message that came in from Grover Mills by telephone. Just a minute. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in a field east of the village of Grover Mills. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you will hear will be that of the Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia in Trenton, New Jersey.
I have been requested by the governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and east to Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by state or military authorities. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover Mills and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You've just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding of the state militia in Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Grover Mills are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back into their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been able to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Grover Mills, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to... Oh, just a minute. What? Oh, he's alive? It's a miracle. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover Mills, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you will hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by direct wire. Professor Pearson?
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover Mills, I can give you no authoritative information, either as to their nature, their origin, or their purpose here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray, like something out of a nightmare. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own, ladies and gentlemen. It is my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat burst in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a parabolic mirror of unknown composition, such as the mirror in a lighthouse, how it shoots a beam of light. The consequences of that ray are staggering. The origin of the heat ray...
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phelps has just been identified in the Trenton Hospital. Now, there's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia stationed outside Grover Mills, New Jersey. And there's a bulletin from the state police, Princeton Junction. The fires at Grover Mills and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit and no sign of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. Oh, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Harry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from the militia in Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facilities. In view of the gravity of the situation and believing that the radio has a responsibility to serve the public interest at all times, we are turning our facilities to the state militia at Trenton.
We now take you to the field headquarters of the state militia near Grover Mills, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps, attached to the state militia now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Grover Mills. The situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies in a pit directly below our position, is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry, without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. It looks almost like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River, probably a fire started by campers. Well, we ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust, and it will be all over. Oh, wait a minute. I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Well, now the troops are on the edge of the Wilmoth farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on a metal tube. Well, wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal. A kind of shield-like affair rising up out of the cylinder. Oh, it's going higher and higher. Well, it's standing on legs, actually rearing up on a sort of metal framework. Well, now it's reaching above the trees and the searchlights are on it. Hold on!
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are a vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover Mills has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by any army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover Mills to Plainsboro. Crushed, trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through the center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia discontinued, except routing some of the trains through Allentown and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and Army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled Philadelphia, Camden, Trenton. It is estimated to twice their normal population. At this time, martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We now take you to Washington, D.C., for a special broadcast on this national emergency. This is the Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We are informed that the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effect of the heat ray upon power lines and on electrical equipment. Here is a special bulletin from New York. Cables received from English, French, German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on the planet Mars. Majority voice opinion that enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines. Attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared that he was lost in the recent battle. And here from Langton Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report 3 Martian machines visible above the treetops moving north towards Somerville with population fleeing ahead of them. The heat ray is not in use, although advancing at express train speed. Invaders are picking their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and countryside. However, they do stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and to disorganize human society. Now, here we have a bulletin from our sister station in Basking Ridge, New Jersey.
Hunters have stumbled upon a second cylinder similar to the first embedded in the Great Swamp, 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding from Newark to blow up second invading unit before cylinder can be opened, and the fighting machine is rigged. They are taking up position in the foothills of Watchung Mountains. Another bulletin from Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines, now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines also sighted by telephone operator east of Middlesex within 10 miles of Plainfield. Here's a bulletin from Winston Field, Long Island. Fleet of Army bombers carrying heavy explosives flying north in pursuit of enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we've run special wires to the artillery line in adjacent villages to give you direct reports in the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery located in the Watchung Mountains.
Range 32 meters.
32 meters.
Projection 39 degrees.
39 degrees.
Fire.
140 yards to the right, sir.
Shift range 31 meters.
31 meters.
Projection 37 degrees.
37 degrees.
Fire.
A hit, sir. We got the tripod on one of them. They've stopped. The others are trying to repair it.
Quick, get the range. Shift 30 meters.
30 meters.
Projection 27 degrees.
27 degrees.
Fire.
Can't see the shell land, sir. They're letting off a smoke.
Where is it?
It's a black smoke, sir. It's moving this way. It's lying close to the ground, but it's moving fast.
Put on gas masks. Get ready to fire. Shift 24 meters.
24 meters.
Projection 24 degrees.
24 degrees.
Fire.
Sir, the smoke's coming nearer.
Get the range.
23 meters.
23 meters.
23 meters.
22 degrees.
Army bombing plane V-843 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Vogt commanding 8 bombers. Reporting to Commander Fairfax, Langham Field. This is Vogt reporting to Commander Fairfax, Langham Field. Enemy tripod machines now in sight. Reinforced by 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder. 6 altogether. 1 machine already crippled, believed hit by shell from Army gun in Watchung Mountains. Guns now appear silent. A heavy black fog hanging close to the earth of extreme density, nature unknown. No sign of heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Another straddles the Pulaski Skyway. Evident objective is New York City. They're pushing down a high-tension power station. The machines are close together now and we're ready to attack. Plane circling, ready to strike. 1,000 yards and we'll be over the first. 800, 600, 400, 200. There they go. Giant arm raised. Green flash. They're spraying us with flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. No chance to release bombs. Only one thing left. Drop on them, plane and all. We're driving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. 8.
Bayonne, New Jersey, calling Langham Field. This is Bayonne, New Jersey, calling Langham Field. Come in, please.
This is Langham Field. Go ahead.
8 Army bombers in engagement with enemy tripod machines over Jersey Flats. Engines incapacitated by heat ray. All crashed. 1 enemy machine destroyed. Enemy now discharging black heavy smoke in direction of...
This is Newark, New Jersey. This is Newark, New Jersey. Warning, poisonous black smoke pouring in from Jersey marshes. Reach South Street. Gas masks useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Automobiles use as routes 7, 23, 24. Avoid congested areas. Smoke now spreading over Raymond Boulevard. 2X, 2L, calling CQ. 2X, 2L, calling CQ. 2X, 2L, calling 8X3R. Come in, please.
This is 8X3R. Coming back at 2X2L.
How's reception? How's reception? K, please. Where are you? 8X3R. What's the matter? Where are you? I'm speaking from the roof of the Broadcasting Building, New York City. I'm speaking from the roof of the Broadcasting Building, New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as the Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchinson River Parkway still kept open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island. Hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end. People are holding service below us in the cathedral. Now I look down the harbor, all manner of boats overloaded with the fleeing population, pulling out from the docks. Streets are jammed, noise in crowds like New Year's Eve in city. Wait a minute. Enemy now in sight over the Palisades. 5 great machines. First one is crossing river. I can see it from here. Wading the Hudson like a man wading through a brook. A bulletin's just been handed to me. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One outside Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. Seem to be timed and spaced. Now the first machine reaches the shore. He stands, watching, looking over the city. His steel, cowlish head is even with the skyscrapers. He waits for the others. They rise like a line of new towers on the city's west side. Now they're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out. Black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running towards the East River. Thousands of them dropping in like rats. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue, 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
"2X, 2L, calling CQ. 2X, 2L, calling CQ. 2X, 2L, calling CQ. New York, isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone? 2X, 2L.
You are listening to a CBS presentation of Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in an original dramatization of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. The performance will continue after a brief intermission. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. We now continue with The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, starring Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air.
As I set down these notes on paper, I'm obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living man on Earth. I've been hiding in this empty house near Grover Mills, a small island of daylight cut off by the black smoke from the rest of the world. All that happened before the arrival of these monstrous creatures in the world now seems a part of another life. A life that has no continuity with the present, furtive existence, the lonely derelict who pencils these words on the back of some astronomical notes bearing the signature of Richard Pearson. I look down at my blackened hands, my torn shoes, my tattered clothes, and I try to connect them with a professor who lives at Princeton and who on the night of October 30th glimpsed through his telescope an orange splash of light on a distant planet. My wife, my colleagues, my students, my books, my observatory, my world, where are they? Do they ever exist? Am I Richard Pearson? What day is it? I mean, do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human beings, no hands to wind the clocks? In writing down my daily life, I tell myself I shall try to preserve human history between the dark covers of this little book. It was meant to record the movements of the stars. But to write, I must live. And to live, I must eat. I find moldy bread in the kitchen and an orange not too spoiled to swallow. I keep watch at the window. From time to time, I catch a sight of a Martian above the black smoke. The smoke still holds the house in its black coil. But at length, there's a hissing sound, and suddenly I see a Martian mounted on his machine, spraying the air with a jet of steam, as if to dissipate the smoke. I watch in a corner as his huge metal legs nearly brush against the house. Exhausted by terror, I fall asleep. And then it's morning. Sun streams in the window. The black cloud of gas has lifted, and the scorched meadows to the north look as though a black snowstorm has passed over them. I venture from the house. I make my way to a road. There's no traffic. Here and there, a wrecked car. Baggage overturned. A blackened skeleton. I push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them, and I keep a careful watch. I've seen the Martians feed. Should one of their machines appear over the tops of the trees, I'm ready to fling myself flat on the earth. I come to a chestnut tree. October chestnuts are ripe. I fill my pockets. I must keep alive. 2 days I wander in a vague, northerly direction through a desolate world. And finally, I notice a living creature. A small red squirrel in a beech tree. I stare at him in wonder. He stares back at me. I believe at that moment the animal and I share the same emotion. The joy of finding another living being. I push on north. The next day I came to a city vaguely familiar in its contours, yet its buildings strangely dwarfed and leveled off as if a giant hand sliced off its highest towers with a capricious sweep of its hand. I reached the outskirts, and I found new work. Undemolished, but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. Presently, with an odd feeling of being watched, I caught sight of something crouching in a doorway. I made a step towards it, and it rose up and became a man. A man armed with a large knife.
Stop! Where did you come from?
I come from many places. A long time ago from Princeton.
Princeton, huh? Ah, that's near Grover Mill.
Yeah?
Grover Mill. There's no food here. This is my country. This end of town all the way down to the river. There's only food for one. Which way are you going?
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for people.
What was that? Did you hear something?
Only just a bird. A live bird.
Yeah, you get to know that birds have shadows these days. Say, we're in the open here. Let's crawl into this doorway and talk.
Have you seen any Martians?
Nah, they've gone over to New York. At night, the sky is alive with their lights just as if people were still living in it. By daylight, you can't see them. 5 days ago, a couple of them carried something big across the flats from the airport. I believe they're learning to fly.
Fly?
Yeah, fly.
Well, then it's all over with humanity. Stranger, there's still you and I. There's the two of us left.
They got themselves in solid. They've wrecked the greatest country in the world. Those green stars, they're probably falling somewhere every night. They've only lost one machine. There isn't anything to do. We're done. We're licked.
Where were you? You're in a uniform.
Yeah, what's left of it. I was in the militia, National Guard. Oh, that's good. Wasn't any war more than there's a war between men and ants.
And we're eatable ants. I found that out. What would they do to us?
Yeah, I've thought it all out. Right now, we're caught as we're wanted. The Martian only has to go a few miles to get a crowd on the run. But they won't keep doing that. They'll begin to catch us systematic like, keeping the best and storing us in cages and things. They haven't begun on us yet.
Not begun?
Not begun. Yeah, all this happened so far because we don't have the sense enough to keep quiet. Bothering them with guns and such stuff and losing our heads and rushing off in crowds. Now, instead of our rushing around blind, we got to fix ourselves up. fix ourselves up according to the way things are now. Cities, nations, civilizations, progress, done.
Well, if that's so, then what's there to live for?
Well, there won't be any more concerts for 1,000,000 years or so, and no nice little dinners and restaurants. If it's amusements you're after, I guess the game's up.
And what is there left?
Life, that's what I want to live. Yeah, and so do you. And we're not going to be exterminated. And I don't mean to be caught either, and tanned and fattened and bred like an ox.
What are you going to do?
I'm going on, right under their feet. I got a plan. We men as men are finished. We don't know enough. We got to learn plenty before we got a chance. And we got to live and keep free while we learn, see? I thought it all out, see?
Well, tell me the rest.
Well, it isn't all of us that are made to be wild beasts, and that's the way it's got to be. That's why I watched you. All these little office workers that used to live in these houses, they'd be no good. They haven't any stuff to them. They just used to run off to work. I've seen them, hundreds of them, running wild to catch their commuter trains in the morning for fear they get canned if they didn't, running back at night afraid they won't be in time for dinner, lives insured, a little invested in case of accidents, and on Sundays, worried about the thereafter. Oh, the Martians will be a godsend for those guys. Nice, roomy cages, good food, careful breeding, no worries. After a week or so chasing about the fields on empty stomachs, they'll come in and be glad to be caught.
You've thought it all out, haven't you?
You bet I have. And that isn't all. These Martians will make pets of some of them, train them to do tricks. Who knows who'll get sentimental over the pet boy who grew up and had to be killed. And some, maybe, they'll train to hunt us.
No, that's impossible. No human being would
Yes, they will. There's men who will gladly do it. If one of them ever comes near me, well,
In the meantime, you and I and other like us, where are we to live when the Martians own the Earth?
I've got it all figured out. We'll live underground. Yeah, I've been thinking about the sewers. Under New York, there's miles and miles of them. The main ones are big enough for anybody. Then there's cellars, vaults, underground storerooms, railway tunnels, subways. You begin to see, eh? Yeah. And we'll get a bunch of strong men together. No weak ones. Oh, that rubbish, out.
And you meant me to go?
Well, I gave you a chance, didn't I?
We won't quarrel about that. Go on.
Well, and we got to make soft places for us to stay in, see? And get all the books we can. Science books. Oh, that's where men like you come in. We'll raid the museums. We'll even spy on the Martians. You know, it may not be so much we have to learn before. Well, imagine this. 4 or 5 of their own fighting machines suddenly start off. Heat rays right and left. And not a Martian in them. Not a Martian in them. But men. Men who have learned the way how. Oh, it may even be in our time. Gee. Oh, imagine having one of them lovely things with its heat ray wide and free. We'll turn it on the Martians. We'll turn it on the men. We'll bring it on. We'll bring everybody to their knees.
That's your plan?
Now, you and me and a few more of us, we'll own the world.
I see.
Say, what's the matter? Where are you going?
Well, not to your world. Goodbye, stranger. After parting with the artillerymen, I came out of the Holland Tunnel. I entered the silent tube, anxious to know the fate of the great city on the other side of the Hudson. Cautiously, when I came out and made my way up Canal Street, I reached 14th Street, and there again were black powder and several bodies and an evil, ominous smell from the gratings of the cellars of some of the houses. I wandered up through the 30s and 40s. I stood alone on Times Square. I caught sight of a lean dog running down 7th Avenue with a piece of dark meat in his jaws and a pack of starving mongrels at his heels. He made a wide circle around me as though he feared I might prove a fresh competitor. I walked up Broadway in the direction of that strange powder, past silent shop windows displaying their mute wares to empty sidewalks, past the Capitol Theater, silent and dark. Near Columbus Circle, I noticed a
Models of 1939 motor cars in the showrooms facing empty streets. From over the top of the General Motors building, I saw a flock of black birds circling in the sky, and I hurried on. Suddenly, I caught sight of the hood of a Martian machine standing somewhere in Central Park, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. It was an insane idea. I rushed recklessly across Columbus Circle and into the park. I climbed a small hill above the pond at 60th Street, and from there I could see, standing in a silent row along the mall, 19 of those great metal titans. Their cowls empty, their great steel arms hanging listlessly by their sides. I looked in vain for the monsters that inhabit those machines. And suddenly, my eyes were attracted to the immense flock of black birds that hovered directly below me. They circled to the ground, and there before my eyes, stark, silent, lay the Martians, with the hungry birds pecking and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. Later, when their bodies were examined in the laboratories, it was found that they were killed by the putrefactive and disease bacteria against which their systems were unprepared, slain after all man's defenses had failed, by the humblest thing that God in his wisdom put upon this earth. Before the cylinder fell, there was a great persuasion that through all the deep of space no life existed beyond the petty surface of our minute sphere. Now we see further. Dim and wonderful is the vision I have conjured up in my mind of life, spreading slowly from this little seed bed of the solar system throughout the inanimate vastness of sidereal space. But that is a remote dream. It may be that the destruction of the Martians is only a reprieve. To them, and not to us, is the future ordained, perhaps. Strange, it now seems, to sit in my peaceful study at Princeton writing down this last chapter of the record begun at a deserted farm in Grover Mills. Strange to see from my window the university spires dim and blue through an April haze. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling on the green, where the new spring grass heals the last black scars of a bruised earth. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum, where the dissembled parts of a Martian machine are kept on public view. And strange when I recall the time when I first saw it, bright and clean-cut, hard and silent, under the dawn of that great day.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen, out of character to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying, "Boo." Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and steal all your garden gates by tomorrow night. So we did the next best thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears. And remember the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch. And if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian. It's Halloween.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy the replay of BBC's War of the Worlds, introduced by Orson Welles and recreated in its original audio. Please don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe to get notifications. Have a happy and safe Halloween season.